everybody. All right, so today we are talking about why do we enjoy superheroes and villains. This is a topic that's very interesting and it should be fun today. There's no debate or anything tonight. It's just pretty much just talking about, why do we enjoy superheroes and villains, Because when it comes to the lore, when it comes to the genre, when it comes to the material, regardless of what universe you might be interested or you like or you prefer, there's always something about something when it comes to a superhero or a villain. And it's very interesting. As always, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe, show your support, and let's get into it. Look, so it just hit me. I was just, there customizing a figure and things like that. I was actually painting a Batman figure. And while I'm listening to some music in the background, cinematic score and stuff, whatnot, it just hit me. One of the songs came up from Spider-Man No Way Home, and I was like, you know what? It just hit me, and I was like, what is it about these characters that we really enjoy and we like? And that's why I was like, you know what? We have to talk about this because this is something that's just fun. And at the same time, I want to hear your point of view. I want to see what you, as the fan, the audience, are interested in. And everybody has one way or another something that they like. There's superheroes that we all like, and there's villains that we also like. I like both. Sometimes the villains look much more cooler and they have some more badass style to it just because. And then, of course, you have our heroes of whatever, like I said, universe it is that you might like, and from whatever it is that you like, whether it's a comic book, a real life, a video game, whatever it is, it's something that, people really, really like, whether it's like, a superhero, like you're saying, or a regular hero, you know, that's interesting. Their abilities and motivation and morals. Yeah, that I can agree with you on that, Alan. It's always something that I guess what they're fighting for. And I see both point of views. I can see the good guy, or good woman, and the bad one because they both have a motivation and to their standards they have a moral code, if you want to say, and they're fighting for something. And it's sometimes very interesting to see the point of views from these characters, whatever character it is, because what leads a villain to become a villain, and what leads a superhero or a hero to just want to go out there and truly fight. Like they don't have to, they just choose to. Who's your favorite DCU Justice League character? Honestly, I'm a Batman character, and I've always been into Batman. And when it comes to the Justice League, it's just Batman. I have three top heroes when it comes to, like comics. If you want to say a fourth one just because it's from anime, it's not, considered with comics, but still, my top four characters, it doesn't matter. I number one, Batman. Number two, Mega Man. Three, Iron Man, and four, Spider Man. And those are my, you know, characters that I really like. And there's always something about them that I truly enjoy. And just because what they do or the cool abilities that they have, like for example, let's take for example Batman. Batman has no special powers. Iron Man has no special powers. But what makes them? Their armor, their suits, and what they stand for. And to everybody, everybody's gonna have a different point of view, so that's understandable. And to me, Batman is just what he does. He stands up for justice and he's gonna fight for justice. And he's gonna put everything on the line. The same thing when it comes to Iron Man. Iron Man, what I really like and love about him is the armors. Like he's always upgrading the armor. The same thing like Batman. They're constantly going through a new version of, the suits that they're wearing, and the gear that they need to fight certain villains. The same thing with Spider-Man. Spider-Man is just incredible. It's like when you think about it, when he was created, okay, he was bitten by a spider, radioactive spider, and boom, he has his special abilities. He's not a normal person like us because of course he has that enhancement, but it's awesome that he's using that ability to fight and defend, the good people, if you want to say. And even when he's put up against situations where he has to pick and choose, he's even willing to put his own life on the line. And that's awesome because again, these characters, don't have to do that. Bruce Wayne doesn't have to do that. What's his name? Peter Parker doesn't have to do it. And the same thing with Tony Stark. They don't have to. They just choose to, you know. And the same thing applies, to the little blue bomber, Mega Man. That's another character that I truly love, because the same thing. All four of them stand up for something. They all fight for justice. They all have armor. They all, use what they can with the abilities or gear and stuff like that. So it's always awesome to see that. Now, when you see villains, villains are also badasses. All right. Let's see what you say right here. When you see a villain, you want to say you hate that because exactly that's the whole point of a villain. And that's awesome. When you see these villains that we get to the point where we're like, I really can't stand him. That's the whole point of a villain. That's why that villain is who that character is. Like there's so many out there. It's just too much. But from the top of my head, just because I'm thinking about them, you have, of course, Joker. Joker, psychotic, he's sick, twisted, but there's a reason why he's the Joker, and in every comic and whatever universe they put him, there's always a reason why he's fighting for what he's fighting. Even though some of us might be like, yeah, this dude's really, really messed up. But what led him to that? Can we kind of justify the reasons of what he's been through for him to become the Joker? Sometimes in a bad way, I gotta say, yeah, Joker sometimes could be right, just because some things do make sense and they kind of add up for the role of a villain, and it's like, okay, that's not right, but I see why he's doing that, but that's who that character is. And when you see, like, for example, the same thing, in Iron Man has so many characters, like I can't even think of the top of my head right now, but just with that, and of course, Spider-Man has, to me, the only two that come to my head mainly, besides everybody else, is Carnage and Venom. Two of his biggest villains. Like, can we really justify and say that Cletus Cassidy is, he's a psycho, he's a lunatic, but is he right in what he's doing? On that one, I step back and I'm like, hell no, this dude is straight up a lunatic. But when he becomes Carnage, is like, okay, now that's a whole different type of character. Like, I'm feeling him, I like him, like, but again, it's that villain. It's just, he's a badass, what he could do with his abilities and things like that. The same thing with Eddie Brock. And when he combines with Venom, is it again justifiable to say, hey, Venom is right? Sometimes, you know. So it is interesting to see these characters. Now you have in certain universes, if you want to say, where the villains are pushed and then they become heroes, and then you have heroes that become villains. So it's like, or anti-heroes. And I don't know, it's just something about it that I find it very interesting. Batman is your favorite character of all. Yeah, you see, like, a lot of people can relate with that, and that's awesome to see that people love Batman. And it's just something about Batman. It doesn't matter which universe. I'm just in general talking about Batman. He's such a badass, especially with what he's been through and he's gone through and all that stuff. Same thing like Peter Parker. Those two are like side by side. And it's just deep when it comes, to the lore, and it just comes to all these characters within their universe or wherever they're at, across the multiverse or whatever it is that you want to look at it. It's just overall Spider-Man. All right. Look, Spider-Man has always been a character that I liked, just because I guess the abilities that he's able to, like, throw web and swing through the city and stuff like that. Now, what made me appreciate these characters more? Honestly, the live action films. Besides the cartoons that they used to play on Fox back in the days, I mean, I fell in love with them even more, the toys, the merchandise, and all the good stuff. But it's just something about the live action films that it just takes your mind to the next level, and you can truly appreciate it. Like, who would have thought? Who would have thought? All right. Before I say the next thing, let me just read these comments real quick. Superheroes have been part of pop culture for generations. They are here to stay. Yes, I agree with you, Ray. Yes, they are. They've been here for the longest, and they're gonna still be around regardless. Shitty movies ruin their image, though. Yeah, that's true. Exactly. Exactly. Sergeant, what's up? Appreciate you for tuning in. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Which Mega Man game is your favorite? Mega Man X. All right. Now that we're talking about that, besides Mega Man, I love that little dude and everything. But when I played Mega Man X, it was just ahead of its time because here you have, I mean, Mega Man. All right. The old Mega Man. If you're familiar with him, he's very basic. All right. He doesn't really get upgrades to his armor and stuff like that. Now, Mega Man X is more, mature, much more into the future. That series is a little bit much more like it's just more deep. His armor, he's just like Iron Man. He can upgrade, he gets a bunch of enhancements, and it's just he gets more badass each time. So when you get all these, abilities and powers on top of what you already have, you're an unstoppable force. That's the same thing with Iron Man and stuff like that. And the same with Batman, like it's crazy, it's like it's awesome. It just makes them much more interesting than what they already are. And then when you have these good guys, if you want to say, and good women going up against, the villains and things, it's like, okay, we already know Batman doesn't want to kill the Joker because we already know the rule that Batman doesn't kill. Don't you like Black Lightning? I'm not really into Black Lightning. I know he has some cool powers and stuff like that, but he's one of those characters that I'm like not really too much into. But I seen some, him in action and stuff with the cartoons and things. But it's cool. I know some people are really really huge fans of him. But when you see these characters going at it, like I said, it's like Batman really doesn't want to take out the Joker. He just wants to tame him and have him pretty much like under control. But we already know that with Joker, that's impossible just because of his mental state and who that character is. Your favorite hero is Spawn. Spawn's a badass. Like don't get me wrong, Spawn is a badass. And that's pretty dope. I know that they're working on a live action film right now and stuff like that. So hopefully that picks up soon because it's been a long time and it's been it's been due. We need a Spawn movie. And again with these characters, it's just awesome to see them. And then when they face these certain villains, and then when they team up, of course, when you have the Justice League, when you have the Avengers, and you just have all these groups that they all team up, it's like, okay, now it got even better. Just seeing them going at it with all these villains and all these characters and things like that. That's why I say what brought me more into it was when we saw them all in live action and how we're seeing them. Like I said, today is not about like which side you like or which version, it's just in general. And like I said, when you see these characters fighting together, and of course we already know that there's other characters that they do have special abilities, they have all these like just crazy, with their powers and stuff. Superman is one of them. I was never a fan of Superman just because of that, because he's always been, to me, he's been exaggerating in the sense where like, all right, well, nothing can really take him down. It's within time you find out that kryptonite is his weakness. And it's like, oh, okay, so that takes them down. Okay, that's understandable. But like you can burn him, you can shoot him, you can like cut him, you can do whatever it is, and nothing's going to happen to him. Not even a scratch, because it's like he it's just the way that he's built. And it's like, okay, that for me is, growing up was like it's a little too much. Like I can't really relate to that character just because he has so much powers. The same thing could be said about Goku. I get it, he's an anime character and his level is like so up there. He's insane when it comes to like how badass he is. But at the same time, it's like, all right, I can't really relate to him just because it's just so exaggerating. Now you put him up like a lot of people have done, fan casts, and they just do, like drawings and stuff. Who would win, like Superman with all these special abilities or Goku? That would be a match I would love to see, just because both of them are pretty much invincible. They both have their weakness, but they're pretty much invincible when they're fighting and stuff like that. The same thing with the villains of Dragon Ball. You have Vegeta, you have all these other characters that are like, these people are going at it, like ripping each other apart, and it's like, all right, barely anything happened, and then they go Super Saiyan, where it's like even more nuts. It's like, whoa, like crazy. Now we have Batman on the other hand. He has no special abilities. He just relies on his technology, and he's gonna build a suit that's gonna pretty much protect him, to give him these abilities, if you want to say, to help him withstand whatever he has to go through and face, and whatever he has to fight. That's why it's also amazing to see how Spider-Man, where when we saw the live action, when Tony gave him the Iron Spider suit, it's like what? Like that blew my mind. I'm like, who would have thought that would have happened? Like just seeing that. I mean, Spider-Man has his own abilities, and it's like now he's suiting up and he has an upgrade to his suit, even more badass. And that, like for me, is like I don't know what it is. It's just when certain characters they start getting armor and like they start getting extra stuff to their suits, it's just to me it's a little bit more it just makes it a little bit much more interesting. I don't know why. That's why, like I said, my top four characters are mainly those four, when it comes to Batman, Mega Man, Iron Man, and Spider-Man, just because they have and they share something similar, because all of them could get armors, all of them could upgrade. Not all of them have like special abilities, but when they suit up and they put their gear on, it makes them stand out even more. And then of course you have Batman with the Batmobile and all these gadgets, Iron Man with all his suits and stuff like that. Spider-Man, he's just Spider-Man, it's like dude could just be swinging and stuff like that. So it's pretty dope to see all these characters when they do that. Now, the villains, I mean, there's just too many villains out there. Now, when you have and for example, you have characters that are like Galactus, and when it comes to Transformers, Unicron, and like these unstoppable type of forces that are like, all right, this is a little too much. But then when they all come together and they fight, like with the Transformers, they all unite, combine, and all that good stuff, it makes it even much more interesting. Again, these are all, to me, it's like all these heroes are just like they're doing what they have to do. Some of them get taken out, but some of them have abilities with the heal themselves or regenerate or whatever it is. That to me is like, all right, that's a little too much, just because it's like, yeah, that's just too much. It's pretty much unstoppable. I don't know. It's just something about some villains and some heroes that I like and don't like. You know, there's some serious dope villains out there, and again, it's wild because sometimes it's like these villains are not really bad. It's just the situation and what they're going through that has led them to become this character or whoever it is. And sometimes you have characters that are just anti-heroes. They're not good, they're not bad, but they're fighting for something. And again, they all have like this moral code. They all have this belief of what they're doing is right, you know? We know Batman beats the pulp out of people. He won't kill them, but he'll do what's necessary at times to do and stop certain villains. Now, villains, we know that they're gonna go all out. That most of the time, they don't care. They're just gonna take out whoever's on their path, because that's just who we are. I mean, who they are. And it's crazy because sometimes you could root for a villain in a movie and be like, damn, I'm kind of like on his side, even though he's wrong or she's wrong, and we're like, yeah, I kind of agree. I'm kind of seeing his point of view why. And it's kind of messed up, but it's like I can relate to that villain, why he's doing that, why she's doing that. We need movies accurate to source material and without MCU tone influence. Yeah, that's true with the cinematic universes and stuff like that. But even for its own universes, like what the MCU is doing with the MCU, it's working for them. The same thing with DC. It was until recently, but we won't get into that today because today is not about that topic. It's just seeing why these characters do what they do. Drop me in the comments. I want to see who's your favorite villain, who's your favorite heroes, who do you like? Whichever characters, post them so I can like I'm curious. I'm just curious to see what y'all like and stuff like that. I already see some spawns, so that's pretty dope. Superhero Spawn. Yep, that's the one we just saw. And James Gunn is a super villain. Yeah, that. Yeah, for sure, for sure. I agree with you on that. Man, y'all too much, man. That's what I like. That's why I like doing these chats with y'all. All right, let's see. So here we have, all right, Pride Tune 55. One of my favorites is Lex Luthor because for every move, Superman, he got two more. Yeah, that's true. I agree with you. And you know what? For some reason, Lex Luthor has never been one of my favorite villains. I don't know why. I just don't find him interesting, but I know that he has his motivations. Now, with that being said, I know he does suit up and he gets, his upgrades on whatever it is that he's wearing and stuff, then I'm like paying attention to him. I'm like, okay, now you got my attention. Look, I'm gonna be real with y'all. In all of my collection of my DC collection, I only have one Lex Luthor, McFarlane figure, just one, and I'm actually looking at it right now. The reason why I got him is just because of the suit. I was like, all right, that's pretty cool. Why not? And that's the reason why I picked him up. Now, do I have any attachment to that character? None, because like I said, I don't really know nothing about Lex Luthor just because that one character doesn't drag my attention. But that's interesting that you like that Pride Tune 55. That's why I like to hear everyone's point of view and see, because that's what in the end we are. We're all fans, and we're gonna relate to certain characters and things like that. So it is interesting. Batman is my most favorite in DC. Marvel is Spider-Man. You see, I agree with you on that one. I'm with you on that one 100% too. Both of those are my characters. Now, with that being said, even though I do love Batman, I'm gonna be real with y'all. I'm gonna be real with y'all. Like, once I saw, well, I did grow up with Batman back in the days and stuff like that. As a little kid, watching the black and white and stuff like that, from Adam West. I was never into that version of him. Once we got introduced to Keaton in the live action, my mind changed. I was like, whoa, Batman, like that's my character right there. But I'm gonna be honest with y'all. When I first played Mega Man, my point of view started changing. I was like, all right, this is something different. I like this, robots, machines, all that stuff. But once I got introduced to Mega Man X, the future version of that Mega Man, I was like, yo, I'm sorry, Batman, but I think Mega Man X is gonna replace you. Just because it's something about him that I really, really enjoy, and I love his universe and all that stuff. But it's like, to me, this is just to me, Mega Man X along with Batman are pretty much side to side. And I have more in my collection with Batman more than what I have with Mega Man. But it's dope because again, both of these characters are just like at my top. It's like, which one would I prefer? That's a hard one. It's like a 50-50 type of relationship, if you want to say, when it comes to those two characters. It's pretty interesting. I know a lot of people like both, and I know some people just like one. So to each their own. Owlman and Ozymandias from Watchmen, some of my favorite villains. Not only the brains of someone like Lex Luthor, but the skills to back up the brain with brute strength. Look at that. That's interesting. Owlman, like I agree with you. That's pretty dope. If you like Owlman, I like his costume. He looks pretty dope. That I give it to him. Like, damn, that's badass. But again, it's a character that I'm like, to me, just doesn't catch my attention. But it's awesome to see how fans, like JC, I'm sure there's a lot of fans out there too that love Owlman. That's pretty dope. It's interesting. It's fascinating to see when there's fans that like different characters instead of the ones that we're so accustomed to. It's always the same thing, like what we see in Marvel and DC. There's always side characters that also get outshine just because we're so used to the main characters. But again, if that's the character you like, hey, that's more power to you, because that's awesome. Nightwing, you're a number one Nightwing fan. Nice, nice, nice. And again, Nightwing is also another cool character. Again, he gets thrown to the shadow a little bit. But yeah, Nightwing, he's pretty cool. Like, again, I'm not into Nightwing, but he is, a dope character, and that's awesome to see how fans really, really love Nightwing and stuff like that. All right, there's a lot of '90s teams that were really cool that disappeared. Weapon Zero from Image Comics, Ultra Force from Malibu Comics, Nightman was cool from that universe. Oh, that's dope. I've never heard of them, but yeah, I know there's a lot of things from the '90s. Look, back in the '90s, look, comics were on another level. They were just so amazing. And the thing about comics from the '90s compared to now, I don't know, but it was just more badass back then than what they are now. I think they've gotten more commercialized and they've gotten more soft, because including the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, when they first came out, when it was in black and white, that's a dark comic. Like, if you haven't read it, or like looked through it, you can find it online. Like, there's pages and stuff like that. It's pretty dark. Like, they introduce, like they're killing, they're taking people out and stuff like that. And not the people, but I'm saying like the villains and stuff, the foot soldiers and stuff with Shredder and things. And it's pretty dope to see what they started. But then, of course, you have Nickelodeon that they bought them out and then they commercialized it. That's why sometimes I don't like when certain things go mainstream, just because we know that they're going to soften them up and commercialize them. And that sometimes could be a problem in this industry, just because it's, like these corporations think, oh well, people are not going to watch it because it's too brute. No, on the contrary, that's what that character is. That's what I want to see. You can't soften Mortal Kombat up, because we already know what Mortal Kombat is, and it brings the fatalities and stuff. It's just part of it. So when they soften certain comics and characters just because it's like, oh, it's too much, it's like, all right, you took some points away from that. It's like sometimes I really want to see these characters go all out. It's like I want to see them going through pain, struggle, and like situations that as the reader, as the viewer, we can relate. Like, while I say that real quick, like that's how I'm doing in my comic that I'm currently working on right now. I'm gonna give you guys characters that you're gonna be like, damn, I could relate to this character. I see what they're going through. I see why it's leading up to that. And I see why they're doing what they're doing. And some things are going to sound, it just, like, it doesn't make sense why they're doing that, but I see why they're doing that. It's just going to come at you at all angles. And then at the end, it's going to leave you as the reader. Is this a good guy? Is it a bad guy? Is it an anti hero? What does he stand for? What does he really stand for? Why is he truly fighting for this cause on whatever it is? But again, like I said, it's just something that I feel that the comic industry has truly forgotten. That's what I enjoy about manga, just because when you pick up a manga, it's just, it gets to the point. And when they're fighting, the reason why they're fighting, and when they're going at it, like, there's no censorship. It goes all out. And that's something that the comic industry needs to pick up and go back to. Like, if it's a comic that's dark and it's like for mature audiences, obviously state it. But don't change it and soften it up if that's the source material. I get it that some movies are changing things and shifting things around, but if that's what's in the source material, you might want to go back to it and try it out, because most of the time people just want what's true to the source material. And I get it. Not always it's going to work, but for the most part, it's going to work. People are going to like that. And it's just something. It's just something about it that's fascinating, I guess. Another good villain for me is Mahito from JJK. Every time I saw him, his ass was annoying as hell. Yeah, there's gonna be characters that are like that, that they're gonna be annoying as hell, but that's what these characters are. That's the beautiful part about it with whatever universe it is. Yeah, the Mirage TMNT is awesome. Yep. I saw how, like, on that Netflix show, when it got started and how it happened, and it's like, who would have thought? Who would have thought that just them goofing around, they would have created what we know today. What the turtles are, and that's pretty dope. It's honestly pretty dope. That's why Sega owns Nintendo. They don't censor Mortal Kombat. That's pretty dope. Yeah. That's true. Um, I mean, Nintendo since day one has always been censoring, and unless you have the code that you can from back in the days, remember that you can put the code so you can get blood and when you're fighting and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's pretty dope. It's just, and look at how it is now. I mean, they've gone all out with these games with Mortal Kombat. Sometimes it's like, damn, is that even necessary? Like, damn, that fatality was uncalled for. Like it just pushes the limit more every time. I love TMNT, and Raphael is my favorite member of the team. Nice, nice. Raphael's a badass. Like, he does have that attitude. I give it to him. And out of the four, I love Michelangelo because he's funny, but I love Leo because he's a leader and what he stands for. And it's something about these characters, like the same could be said about Batman, Optimus Prime. These are leader characters that they always take charge and own up, even when they screw up. Some of them carry guilt, but it's understandable on whatever the situation is. But Raphael, yeah, he's a badass. I give it to him. It's pretty dope how they came up with them. It's just how it all started and stuff. And DC when it took itself seriously was superior to joke cringe it is now. Yeah, I mean, DC what it's become. It's completely a joke. They were dark, they were brute, they were always like that, and that's what made them different from Marvel. But now, yeah, it's completely a circus. Completely ridiculous. I read The Authority and really liked them, and they kill but save humanity time and time again. And to be honest, I don't want Gun to touch them. Midnighter and Apollo are some badasses. Nice, nice. I have no knowledge whatsoever of the Authority. Again, but if that's what you're saying, I believe you because yeah, sometimes they don't stay true to the source and then they just switch things around and they just ruin it. Valiant Comics has some really cool characters. Shadow Man had a really cool new design in the early 2000s compared to the 90s, and those comics were amazing storytelling. Yeah, that's something that the industry is lacking very bad now. The amazing storytelling. They don't have that anymore because everything's filled up with an agenda right now, and it's pretty scary if you want to say, but at the same time, it's like I see what you're doing just because you guys want to target and get more audience, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do. For example, look at what Marvel did with Logan, a R-rated movie. Look at how good that was. And then of course you have what DC has done, and it just completely goes. They don't even know anymore. Honestly, it's kind of wild. You have a lot of Mirage TMNT books. Nice, nice, nice. Hold on to those. Don't even sell them. Don't even sell them. Even if the value goes up, keep them. Like I'm telling everybody, yo, look, honestly, with this whole stuff with the tariffs and how everybody's right now with inflation, everybody's struggling. I get that, right? But I'm gonna tell you one advice. If you're a collector of physical media, of toys, of shoes, whatever it is that you collect, and you know that the value keeps on going up, do not sell it. Keep it. It doesn't matter how much it's worth. It's better to own it and to have it instead of selling it and you're going to spend the money and then later regretting. I've sold some of my stuff in my collection recently and I have regrets. I'm going to be real with y'all. Like just because I was like, yo, you know what? I don't really care about it like that. And I looked at it and I'm like, damn, the value is so high. I should have never sold it. Just because now I'm like, I don't have it anymore. So, it's like some things is just worth keeping. And the TMNT, those books, even though they're worth money, don't get rid of them. Keep them. Keep them. Trust me. You do not want to get rid of them. Look at how Pokemon cards are right now. Who would have thought? Your thoughts on the Thunderbolts? I haven't seen Thunderbolts and I'm really not interested in it. Honestly. I don't know why. It just feels like a forced team and like they're just trying to do from what I'm seeing on the trailer of the movie because I haven't even seen it. It feels like a forced Suicide Squad team and it just doesn't grab my attention honestly. It just I'm not really interested in none of those characters. So, yeah. All right, what is it? Y'all know the Battle Beast comics just came out from Invincible. I'm about to read it tonight. Nice, nice. Yeah, that whole Invincible, they're going nuts with that too. We got to give them pride. I mean, we got to give them what is it props for that because that's pretty dope. Raphael's my favorite too. Nice, nice. I'm just seeing the comments. Do I like any Marvel movies? Yeah, I do like Marvel movies. I'll be honest with y'all. All right, from leading everything up to Endgame, there's some movies I didn't see. I'll tell you straight up, the ones I did not watch because I'm not interested. I don't care about them. I didn't see. I tried seeing Ant Man, the first one. It's so boring that I fall asleep. I didn't bother seeing the second one. I don't even know if they have a third one, and I don't even care honestly. I saw all the Thors, all the Iron Man, loved them, and what else? Of course, Avengers, all that stuff. I don't care about the what's his name, the dude with the Spider Man, the wizard dude. I can't remember his name right now. Um, but yeah, the dude that opens the portals and stuff. I can't remember his name right now. That's how bad it is. But yeah, I haven't seen that movie from him. Um, and there's probably more Hulk. I'm not really a Hulk character either. What else? What else? I haven't seen the Thunderbolts. So, these are like side characters that I really don't care about. And it's like, all right. It's like, they just don't drag my attention, I guess. But that's cool. To each their own. It's nice to geek out a little here without calling each other names or arguing with weirdos. Yeah, exactly. That's why I was like, you know what? Today, let's just talk about this because from time to time, it's good. You know, it's good. I know a lot of people tend to tell me, and from the comments, the comments be going nuts, man. Like, it's like what's her name, Rachel, when she told Batman in the Dark Knight, or I think it was Batman Begins. I don't remember now. She was like, "Oh, you're rattling their cages." You know, it's like some of these comments, man. They it just cracks me up. I'm like, man, some people really they go all out with it and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it's good. You know, it's good that we're here talking about this because why not? You know, why not? It's nice for a change. You've been buying up a lot of crowdfunding comics recently. Just sucks it takes so long to get them, but when you do, they're pretty good, fun, and good reads. Nice, yeah. That's what I've been saying for a while. The future is going to be independent. Everything is going to be indie in films, in games, in comic books, mangas, and this is what the mainstream media doesn't want. They don't want that. You have companies like DC, Marvel, Image, Dark Horse, um, all these toy companies. The same thing, you know, Hasbro, Mattel. They don't want people like us coming up with original content, with original material, because that's bad for them, because they're like, oh well, we can't sell any more of this product, we can't sell any more of this, because now this other one's getting popular, you know. And there's so many to pick, way too many indie content creators. There's a bunch, and it's hard to keep up, or even find them sometimes. Most of the time you can find them at conventions, you go to cons and stuff like that, and you go to Artist Alley, and you can see them, unless you're in a forum with like just like independent what is it, comic creators and stuff like that. It all depends. There's a bunch of them out there, you know. This is why, like, I've been working on what I'm doing now, first with you all, you know, that, you know, the audience. And this is why I do polls and stuff to see what gets your interest. And okay, this is gonna probably appeal to some people of the audience, some is not. And that's understandable. I'm gonna be honest with you. The comic that I'm working on, it's all my own IP. And I know it's not going to please everybody, but I'm not here to please everybody. I'm here to please the fans that are going to like that, you know, because you can't please every fan. It's impossible. And that's what companies have to also accept. They have to understand that, hey, you can't please every fan. You just can't. It's impossible, because you're going to please one side, then the other side is not. And then you're in this ruckus and everything is a mess. So you just got to put what you put out there. And the ones that are going to support it and like it, hey, you know, more power to them. That's how it is in this industry. That's the same with video games, you know, with music, everything, you know, like that's why you see a lot of music artists, they fall off, because of course you have that they don't reach the billboards, the charts and stuff like that. So, and sometimes it's not really about that. Sometimes it's just you have to give your audience and your fans what they really want. And then everything else would just come and follow that, you know. But I don't know, it's just a strange market right now. But yeah, the future is with independent content creators. And let's see. All right, you enjoyed the Thunderbolts. It's not perfect, but it did give off Suicide Squad vibes. Now let me ask you: was the vibes of Suicide Squad like what we saw with David Ayer? You know what they gave us back in 2016, or like James Gunn, the Suicide Squad? I'm interested in knowing on that. So let's see what we go down. Not gonna lie, I saw the Thunderbolts clip of Sentry fighting them, and it really reminded me of Superman. It was okay, that's cool, but the whole movie still probably is probably trash. It probably is. I'm not gonna go see it anytime soon. I don't even think I'm gonna see it in person. Honestly, I'm probably gonna wait, if anything, if it goes to streaming. But you know, I'm not really too convinced, at least for the moment. And the future is going to be streaming. Yeah, unfortunately, everything's gonna be streaming in the future. It's look. Let's talk about that real quick. Now that you brought that up, it's an interesting topic. That's something that I kind of want to talk about, like on a separate video. But I do want to talk about it now that you brought it up. Reason why the future is going to be streaming, because it's cheaper for the studios. They could put out content much more faster, and they can cut out the middle person, which is the movie theaters. Because when you're streaming like Netflix doesn't have to give a dollar to AMC, Regal theaters, or whatever movie theaters are still left. They keep all the profit because they have subscribers. And if you've been following, I've been posting the stocks. This whole week for Netflix has been ridiculously massive when it comes to success. Their stocks keep going up instead of going down. They keep going up and up and up. And I'm like, whoa, like this is nuts. They're a monster in the streaming business. you can't say the same thing with Disney. You really can't say the same thing about HBO Max. And look at what HBO Max just announced, that they're going back to calling it HBO Max because they're confused themselves. They're like, well, we're going to call ourselves Max. We're going to go back to HBO Max. Just stick to HBO Max. That's it. That's what you're known for. Just stick to it. The same thing with Disney. Look at Disney. They have so much content. But even though with their original content, they're not up there the way that Netflix is. Netflix has a buffet to pick out. Like they have so much one original content, original Netflix content, whatever. They have other movies that they play there that they're constantly removing and adding because of the license. But it's much more cheaper for a studio to have like they are right now with their own streaming service and be able to profit off of that because they're cutting the movie theaters, they're cutting that whole big expense, and they're just charging whatever devices are in the household. So, yeah, unfortunately, the future is going to be streaming, and especially with this whole AI and all this technology that it just keeps getting much more advanced. We all have to come to terms and agree and say, there's really nothing that we can do about it, honestly. Even if we do try boycotting it, I mean, people are just, it's the future. Unfortunately, that's just what it is. It's the future. Now, how do we utilize it and let it control us? That's pretty much up to each and every one of us. Like you can have all these devices, but don't let these devices rule you. And why do I mean by saying that? You can have at home, what is this? Alexa or whatever you use to hear music. Most of the time, these devices are just pretty much recording you. Turn those things off, but enjoy it because they're starting to put all that in everything now, and it's pretty scary. You have it in your watch, you have it on your phone, you have it on your devices at home. It's pretty nuts, and even on TVs that have, the smart TVs that have cameras that are looking at you. I'll be real with you. I just put tape on it because I'm like, yo, I don't need them watching me. You get what I'm saying? So if you know what I'm talking about. Just do that and you good because technology is way too advanced where it's like, all right, this is getting a little bit too much. And look at what they're doing with images. It's pretty nuts. It's pretty nuts. But yeah, unfortunately, that's what the future is going to be. I'm seeing a lot of fake reactions to Superman crying, and I'm like, for real, y'all, damn, y'all getting a check. Yeah, 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 for sure. There's a lot of people that are right now, just saying the opposite of everything. So we know what's up. We'll see how the end result is going to be at the box office. All right, it's not Guns Suicide Squad, but Thunderbolts isn't perfect, but I take it over Guns films. Oh, damn, pretty interesting. Okay, damn. So I think you convinced me. I think I'm gonna have to check it out then. So if I literally thought it was going to be another ripoff of like the Suicide Squad, just because they want to put that dark tone and then just throw jokes. So that really kind of threw me off. But now, um, Shin Batman 84, by you saying that, I'm gonna have to go check that out. Honestly, now I really have to go check it out just because you made me change my point of view. I appreciate that. I prefer streaming because these theaters not getting cheaper. Exactly. That's why. Theaters are not getting cheaper. They're getting more expensive. And not only that, let's be real. When you go to the theaters, it's a pain in the ass to find parking, to find a seat. You got to get in line. And if, God forbid, that you got to buy something to eat because you were in a rush to go see the movie, you wanted to see it early. So now you got to buy something to eat. Add all that up. It's expensive, and then you got to get into another line. And if you didn't buy your ticket, because some theaters have where like you reserve your seat, and if you didn't get the seat you wanted, now you got to sit where you don't want to sit. That's a pain. It's a hassle. So that's why to me it's much more comfortable. I prefer more streaming, just because it's much more comfortable. You can pause it whenever you want, take a break, come back to it. That's what I loved about Zack Snyder's Justice League, that we got it, on streaming. A 4 hour movie. I'm like, who's gonna really sit through a 4 hour movie without taking a break? I mean, that's kind of ridiculous. Let's be real. But at least with the power of streaming, you can pause it, take a break, you eat something, you ease your mind, and you absorb what you're watching. You're like, damn, that scene was dope. That scene was amazing. You get what I'm saying? Like when I rewatch Zack Snyder's Justice League, I always pause at certain spots because I'm like, okay, like I just want to get through this scene. I just want to skip and I want to watch something. Let's go straight to the action. Or like, okay, let me see this. Why Zach did this? You get what I'm saying? So the same thing with Marvel movies. You just pause them and stuff like that. That's the benefit of it. I find it more convenient and stuff like that, and it's showing you. This is why Netflix is winning the streaming wars. Let's be real. We have to give credit to Netflix, but they because they're a monster. They're a pioneer to the streaming service. They've been doing this for years. If you go way back, probably the new ones that are listening right now, you don't know about the old Netflix when you would have to, I think, like ship out a label and then they would send you the actual physical DVD and to return it. Like I think you had like I think it was a week maybe. I don't remember now. And then they would send it back. You would send it back. So it was pretty dope, you know. But it was a hassle. So Netflix came up with that whole streaming idea, and then Disney copied them, Paramount copied them, and now HBO Max copied them. But who's really winning the service? Netflix, and more power to them. You know, we just have to. It's much more cheaper. It's much more convenient. I had the same tone. It had the same tone as David Ayer's Suicide Squad back in 2016. Nice. Okay, so damn, y'all definitely convinced me to go watch that movie. Then, all right, I'm gonna have to go check it out. I'm probably gonna go check it out tomorrow or sometime in the week for sure. I don't think they can get the same return through a subscription versus theater release. Like Avatar 1 and 2, no amount of streaming numbers will give the studio 2 or 3 billion return. I don't know about that, honestly. Honestly, I mean, it's working for Netflix. So if it's working for Netflix, it could work for any other streaming service. Just the thing is, can these streaming services absorb whatever's going to come from it, you know? And the only one way for Marvel and DC to really know is by them doing it. If they do, you know, like I get it during the pandemic, people watch more Wonder Woman just because it was during that time and it had, you know, high views and stuff like that. Same thing with Godzilla versus Kong. Same thing, those numbers went up. And of course, when we saw Zack Snyder Justice League on streaming, it crashed the servers because that's how much traffic was there. So I believe, and I'm convinced that with the way that Netflix is doing their streaming service, yeah, they can make money. They can make money, and they don't have to reveal it. I mean, their stocks are speaking for themselves. I mean, that says a lot. I think it's a matter of quality of the movies that make the return worthwhile. So studios have pivot towards food films and legendary studios does with Godzilla and Dune franchise. Yeah, again, you know, they won't know until they actually do it. That's what I'm thinking. You get what I'm saying? I think it'll be the future for smaller indie projects and story character dramas like Image, Goodwill Hunting in 2025, but it will flop, and that's the great film. So studios will stream those. Yeah, they could stream some stuff, you know, and then I guess do theatrical runs for certain things, which would be dope. I guess if that's gonna help them. But the budget blockbusters have to stay theater to make the return back for their budgets. Yeah, but a lot of people are not really going to theaters. That's the thing. Notice how many movies have been tanking lately, and that's just not Marvel and DC. That's other movies. You know, like they're suffering. It's just a matter of time. Theaters are going to become like drive-in theaters back in the days, a thing of the past. Unfortunately, that's what it's all heading to. And these corporations are seriously taking it there, you know, but we'll see what happens. WB stocks are collapsing. Superman won't save them. Nope. We already know that. Essentially got a hell of a backstory to sit personality disorder. I gotta read his comics. Nice, nice. All right, so let's see. Sentry's a good character. I remember him back in the day. All right, Universal, Paramount, Netflix, and Amazon stocks are way up. Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm telling you. They're streaming. Look at that. Look at what they're doing now with that Voltron movie. It's not gonna be a theatrical release anymore. Now, rumor has it that it's going to be on Amazon streaming service, and that would be good. Honestly, that would be dope. I have no problem with that. I'm still gonna watch it, and they're still gonna make money. So it's a win for them, and it's a win for us. You know who is not a win for? The theaters, and that's what the theaters are scared of, because people are not gonna be able to go buy snacks, buy these expensive ass sodas, and all the expensive food that they love to tax on. You know, you buy a box of candy, what is it, like $25? Like it's insane. You know, a bucket of popcorn. What is it now? Like probably like $50. I don't know, depending on the area you're in and stuff like that. I've seen these prices. I'm like, hell no. I always eat before I go to the movies, you know, because I know like if a movie's like 2.5 hours, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna eat something before I go, and just to weigh it out. So by the time I get out, then you know at least you're good. But yeah, so it's expensive. Netflix was at time you rent. Yeah, yeah, I remember that. Oh man, the memories of Netflix, man, when they first started. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that they would have been where they are right now? And it's crazy because Blockbuster could have been them, but they passed on it, and look at what happened. You know, it's wild. Yeah, a guy I listen to called Tire. Was it Trey? Check him out. He speaks a lot on common sense. He just came out with a video about him. I was like, damn, I gotta read this entry then. Oh, that's nice. Cool, cool, cool. John Wick makes numbers. The ballerina will make numbers. I just think it's the type of movies in the studio presenting them. Yeah, that's all it is. It's just you're right. I agree with you. It's all about whatever movie they're pretty much presenting. We already know that John Wick is an established IP, and ballerina is also connected with it. So more power to them. A lot of films in theaters, well, a lot of films flop in theaters because nobody wants to pay high prices sitting through people texting or talking through films. Yeah, exactly. And especially when like you're watching a movie and then right behind you they're either kicking the seat, because the kid doesn't stop kicking it or crying or like unnecessary nonsense, and it's like it's always something. It's just more I don't know, to me it's just more of a hassle going to the theater. I prefer to watch it streaming. Much more easier. That's about theater. What? That's about theaters these days. Movie tickets, awesome expensive. Yeah, yeah, too damn expensive. It's crazy. Like that's what I'm telling you. Like the movie that I'm really looking forward to this summer mainly is Jurassic World Rebirth, and that's pretty much and probably Ballerina now that I'm actually excited to go see that. I wasn't convinced, but after rewatching the trailer, I'm like, okay, this is different. I'll give it a shot. I want to check it out. So we'll see what happens. AMC president said that they'll be cutting the price of tickets in July, and we know what's coming out. Wow. Yes, yes. I like how you snuck that one in. There's no reason why they're gonna be cutting the prices. They already know what's up. I'm telling you. All right. Are you interested in the new Final Destination? No, honestly, I'm not into like Final Destination. I stopped watching them when they were probably at the second or third film. Like that's what probably in the early 2000s, and it's like it's just like the Saw movies. Like I like I really like Saw one, but then two started, three just started going downhill. Then I lost count. I'm like I don't even know what number they're in, and I don't know what the deal is with these movies. Look, now that you're bringing up Final Destination, look, we're literally in May. I don't know when it comes out. I think it's already out. I really don't know. The point is, Final Destination was a missed opportunity, just how now we have 28 years later. Another missed opportunity because those movies should have been released in October. Those are movies that are horror. Those are movies that would have been perfect for the fall. They would have been able to milk it and make so much money. But no, they're bringing it out during the summer, a time that nobody wants to really see that. Like, it's not enough fans. If they do, okay, cool, nice. But I highly doubt that they're going to be making some high numbers because people want to see action right now. It's the summer. People are on vacation. They want to see all that type of stuff. Kids movies, family movies, good entertainment. For sure. That's what Jurassic World is bringing. That's what Fantastic Four is bringing. That's what the Smurfs are bringing. These are the type of movies, Ballerina. Like people want to see this type of stuff. And then the same thing, the How to Train Your Dragon, same thing. Those movies are all going to make profit at the box office. Now, Superman, we can't say the same thing. But again, that's not for today's topic. That's the problem with theaters these days. Movie tickets, yeah. All right, let's see. Oh, they're doing another Karate Kid. I had no idea. I had no idea. I'm excited for Karate Kid Legends and Ballerina. I really had no idea, honestly. It's pretty interesting, but it's wild to see that they're still going. I'm excited for the 28 years later, even though I need to watch the prequels, but that movie should come out around Halloween. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A missed opportunity for the studio. If they would have brought it out in October, I guarantee you they would have made bank. They would have made bank like when they did with the first Venom. When they brought out the first Venom movie in October, I think they made it almost, I think, to almost a billion. They were high numbers. I was like, man, like they did it right, and it was with the tone and stuff like that. But we'll see what's gonna happen. Ballerina looks great, but Superman is gonna flop. Yeah. Yeah. We already know that. But let's try to stay on topic because I know we went off topic and stuff, but let's keep on talking about these superheroes and villains. I know we love to talk about movies and we love to talk about how the industry is right now. But again, like this is pretty much a chill chat, if you want to say, because today it doesn't matter. Hey, I'm with this side, I'm with that side. It's all about pretty much whose side are you on? On the good guys, the bad guys, in between. I tend to be sometimes in between just because I'm like sometimes the heroes it's a little too much, and it's like, all right, this is a little bit exaggerating. But sometimes the villains could be okay. They have a point. I understand that also, So we will see with all that. But yeah, that's the thing, That's what, like I said, look, I'm gonna be honest with y'all, like I always am. That's what I like making these chats and these live streams, because we get to interact, we get to talk. I wish I could hear all of y'all, that there was a feature that we could hear stuff, that we could talk and stuff. I'm probably gonna do a live stream where I'm gonna have it open, but I'm just a little concerned, because if I do that, then everybody's gonna be coming on. It's just gonna be too too nuts, like too many people are gonna be like talking over each other and stuff like that. And I don't want that, just because it's just too much. So I'm trying to see what we could do so we can chat and stuff like that, and do like a special stream or something like that, and things like that. But this is something, like I said, it's fun, it's different, and as, if you want to say nerds, geeks, I call it fans, and it's just something that we all enjoy, of whatever it is when it comes to the genre. That's why, like I said, today I was just customizing a toy, and painting it and stuff. I'll show y'all the pictures and stuff, probably put up a video so y'all can see. It's a Batman Forever retro one. And I was just listening to that Spider-Man No Way Home theme, and it just hit me. I was like, what is it about superheroes that we truly enjoy and we love? It's the same thing about the villains. It's like, damn, is Venom really right? Like, for doing that? Is the Joker really on point for what he said? Like, he's spitting some facts, but sometimes it's like, but this dude's a psycho. It's like, he's not well, but at the same time, it's like he does make a point. Like in the Dark Knight, when we saw with Christopher Nolan, when he had the Joker, when he was like, when he was telling the goons and stuff, he's like, what happened? Did your balls fall off? I mean, you got Batman, literally one man. He's pretty much taking out everybody. And it's like, what happened? And it's true. It's like, he has a point. What happened to them? You have these crime bosses that they were running Gotham and doing what they were doing, and because of Batman, now they're all like going into their shells, and they're kind of scared now. So it's like, what really happened? See what I'm saying? So it's always something with the lore, and it's always something of, you know what what they create. But at the same time, it's like, when I see a superhero, honestly, look, when I see a spider, especially like Spider-Man, I know that's Spider-Man. When I see a bat, I know that's Batman. It's like, okay, we know the S, Superman. It means hope, that there's always going to be hope. And that's what we want as fans. It's like, I can relate to this character for X, Y, and Z reason. Like, I don't like this villain because he's so annoying because of this, but I see his point of view. That's why he's doing that. He's a villain, but damn it, he's right. Like, some things are just justifiable, and other are just like, damn, yeah, he's so wrong. But I see why it led him to do that and become who that character is. And sometimes you have characters that they take them out so quick, and I'm like, damn, that's it. Like, what the hell? It's like, it's wild. It's pretty wild, pretty wild. Am I gonna see the Lethal Geeks podcast tonight? Yeah, I'm gonna tune in. Y'all could catch me there. I'll for sure. I'll be in the chat, probably just like, watching and stuff. So yeah, I'll be on that. You should do a Discord or something like that. Okay, yeah, true. I always forget about Discord. Discord is I have it. I just have it there, just sitting there. But yeah, I'm gonna have to do that so we can do that stuff, and we could chat it up and stuff. All right, hot take: James Gunn makes comic book movies overrated, and they're either okay or over the top. Yeah, it's like, we know what he's doing with DC, and I'm just not interested as a fan. We see, we've seen what he did with Marvel. That was his thing. All right, cool. Like, kudos to him. But at least with what he's doing with DC, I'm just not interested. I really am not, and a lot of fans are not either. I think James Gunn's best movie is Guardians 2 because of the humor, visuals, and the entire movie. I like better than the first one. I think I want to agree with you. I haven't seen the first one. I keep hearing a lot of people saying, "Hey, the first one's the best one." The second one is where I started watching it. The third one was garbage. I was like, "What the hell?" Like, I was like, "This is just trash." Like, I don't know. It's just, but yeah, the second one is good. But again, I haven't seen the first one. I do like the theme song from Guardians of the Galaxy. That's one thing I really do like. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. Like the music on that one was pretty dope, and but that's pretty much it. I'm like I said, I'm not really into like what James Gunn does with the Guardians, but that's his thing. And props to him. He did it at Marvel. He made it happen, and that's all that matters for them. Hey, it worked for them. Guardians 3 had his moments, but it was a disappointment towards the end. Nah, to me, it was just from beginning to end. To the end, it was just trash. I was like, I can't even believe I'm watching this. Like, it started off cringe, it got more cringier, and at the end, it was just like, oh, this is just pure trash. I was like, I can't. I was just like, this movie's over. Like, and it's like the same cast from there. Most of those actors and actresses are coming over to DC, which it sucks. Also, Gunn shouldn't mess with DC characters. Nah, he shouldn't. Honestly, after the first what it was, the Suicide Squad, DC should have just been like, you know what? Nah, this is not the route that we want to go. But I'm glad that they did go down this route. You know why? Because come July 11, we already know what's gonna happen. Good was another good villain is Zod in some comics, and he helps other species kill Krypton. Yeah, Zod's another one too. He has his reasons. I truly understand, and I see his point of view. So we will see. How's the marketing of Jurassic World Rebirth? It's going amazing. They're on two. I think on Monday they're releasing the official trailer. So today they released the teaser trailer, and then Monday the official trailer is coming. Or if they haven't released it yet, but from what I heard, that on Monday it's gonna come out. So, and then of course the marketing for Jurassic World Rebirth, it's straight up is nuts. It's bananas. It's all over the place and stuff. So we will see. We will see how that's going to be. I have I have good a good feeling that it's going to be really good. So I know that movie is going to be honestly the movie of the summer. Gun bastardized the heroes and villains. Yeah, he turned them on to a joke. Honestly. Yep, yep, yep. After July 11, James Gunn is fired. Yep, that's the goal. I really doubt that they're going to renew his contract. But yeah, so all right, so yeah, so pretty much this is what we wanted to talk about today. So I appreciate y'all for watching, for tuning in, and all that good stuff. I will be watching the other podcast later on tonight. So yeah, if y'all see me on the chat, you know that I'm watching, and I'll be tuning in stuff like that. So again, I want to thank y'all for watching. Like I said, today was a different type of video where we're more chilling and vibing, as fans and stuff like that, and just pretty much just kind of talking about heroes and villains, because I mean, why not? So something different, something fun, and something different for today. But yeah, so I'm gonna catch you on the next one. I appreciate y'all for tuning in, all that good stuff. Y'all have a good Saturday, and I'll catch you on the next stream. Appreciate it. Have a good one.